Okay, I'm going to talk you through a good paragraph, and hopefully you can begin to apply that in your own writing. Lots of people are making similar mistakes. Actually, I think although this one isn't perfect, it does offer a really clear structure. Now what I've done, I've colour-coded where the point is, and put that in purple as down here, the evidence in blue here and here, in green you've got the analysis, and then the evaluation as well as terminology in orange and then in yellow. So if you remember, this question was all about how language is used in The Handmaid's Tale. Okay, so straight away we see language used by Offred as an escape from the dystopian world of Gilead. So the first part there links to the question, idea of escapism, and then it goes on to develop and say experience cruel and inhumane things. So with this idea of cruel and inhumane, this is the kind of beginning of the analysis. And what this does, it shows whereabouts the rest of the paragraph is going to go. Okay? I don't like things. I think we can be more specific there. But this idea of cruelness and inhumanity is excellent. Shows really great knowledge of the text, live handlings of her fellow handmaids and other Gileadian criminals, and to say at the salvaging as well. Tells me as the examiner that you know exactly where this event happens. It gives that greater knowledge to the book, and that's what we're really looking for. Brilliant as well to get that term in, so first person narration. Okay, something we spoke about a lot in class, and again you're showing to the examiner, look, I know my terminology, I know how it's relevant, and that allows you to develop your point. Alright? The repetition of escapism again backs up the initial points. Escapism provided for Offred through language. So again, the idea about language shows that you understand the writer's craft. You know that what that word is doing, she's achieving that through the speech, through the dialogue, through the language. So with this bit of evidence, it's nice and short, it's nice and concise, and it's a key part, it's quite a bit that we all remember. Okay, so concise, clear evidence, which is brilliant. Always good to get the writer's name in, so rather than just say she uses or the use of, to say outward shows you understand this is her text. And I think something that people struggle with is understanding the writer's craft. But to say outward uses, short simple sentences and other terminology, it just shows that you understand that this is crafted, right? That the writer has made these decisions consciously. To demonstrate Offred's mind searching frantically for distraction from the hanging, I think it's quite a nice interpretation, really. So this idea about a frantic search, it doesn't go on and on. It's clear, concise, it's to the point, and it just allows the initial point about escape to develop in the analysis, which is clearly that bit of evidence. And then what's really impressive is that it moves away from writer's craft about the short, simple sentences into, by doing this, Offred's clearing her mind the atrocity in front of her, and instead filling it with words that she would have had the freedom to use before the regime. So with that, what I think is great is you move from the overview about the writer into the analysis of character, and that is something which you've got to look to do in your own writing. And there begins to get a bit more sophisticated. So the first person narration is used by Outward to highlight the slight passive resistance to rebellion that Offred carries out against government, as her only real option of rebellion is internal. So what she does is it linking back to this idea about first person narration. So yes, there is the extra terminology in the middle, but the whole paragraph is focused on this idea of first person narration. So it shows a greater understanding of the character, this idea of slight passive resistance, something which we've seen throughout, and we've come to learn how that resistance has been quelled or held back, and that this tiny rebellion is almost a victory for her to extend the back here world of Gilead and how and why she wants to escape from that. And then in this section here, so this is because if she were to not show its own conformity, she'd be punished severely by the government. It's just again developing understanding of Offred's character, and it's all through this idea of the language and her use of it especially. The use of better vocab as well, so external conformity and this idea about punishment is still linking into the cruelness, the inhumanity mentioned in the point. Now that's something that lots of people move away from. Their paragraphs tend to go off on a tangent and forget completely about that initial point that's made. But what this one does is it constantly brings it back and links back to that. And the final part of this paragraph, therefore language being escape for women like offer its significance, it allows them to resist the Gileadian regime without receiving punishment. It's evaluative, it links back to the question about language, it links back to the point, and this idea of significance is key. There's no point in exploring things if they're not going to be significant in a novel. This is significant because this is exploring her oppression, and it's exploring why she needs to escape. And if you can make evaluative comments at the end of each paragraph, then you're going to be ticking the boxes for the higher bands. So the real key messages here then. Make sure you place it really carefully in the text. So what's the key event you're going to look at? So here, live hangers and fellow handmaids. What knowledge do you have of the text? And that's where it looks at the section or chapter here. You must use terminology. A couple of bits of terminology is brilliant. Make sure it's literary, so looking at the narrator, looking at then the way that language is used. Okay, your point should be interesting. It shouldn't just be language allows Offred to escape. It should be language is used by Offred to escape because she is forced to experience cruel and inhumane things. She wants to escape those. Alright? With your analysis, it should be concise. You don't need to go overboard. You don't need to go off on one. Everything needs to be short to the point, and it's got to develop upon your initial point. These bits here really show the writer's craft. It goes away from the writer into the idea about character. So Offred here carrying out this internal rebellion. Understanding the great significance of it, so this idea of external conformity, and the final evaluative comment is excellent. I'm not saying this paragraph is perfect, it's not. It needs to develop some contextual links, and obviously now we're doing War of the Worlds, you would want a follow-up paragraph which is comparative in some ways. But what it does, in just a few lines, it shows how you can be concise, how you can link clearly to the question, the use of terminology, and if you can do this and develop those skills, then that will make for a really improved. So I've just put in pink there my general comments that I think would improve it. It's that context which is quite a large part of the marks that would be to improve. But follow this structure and hopefully that should lead to success.